Good afternoon, our viewers. I greet you in the name of Jesus Christ. It is a good afternoon that we are here for a very, very noble purpose. The Pcea Happy Valley Parish Education Committee, under the wise guidance of our parish minister, Reverend Duncan Mwangi, and the CAC session, saw the need of having seminars for our teens and adolescents, and also our parents, so that we can have seminars because of the many issues that have cropped up, especially as a result of the current COVID-19 pandemic, so that we can have our youth and our parents informed about how to go about these issues. And as such, we as the Parish Education Committee, we have our members present, members of that committee present. We decided to have one of our psychologists, a counselor psychologist by the name Elder Mrs. Grace GATONYE, who is a counselor psychologist in charge of the public service, to come and facilitate our youth, our teens and adolescents, as well as our parents and the entire congregation on such issues, that you enlighten us on how to cope and on how to on the way forward. Madam Grace will take us through this seminar, which will fall in 2 sessions that will be disseminated online in 2 sessions, in 2 different days. You are most welcome to listen to her. And in case you have any questions that you would have to ask her, she will give her contact at the end of the presentation, in order for us to get in touch with her if at all we want to have something clarified. Thank you and welcome, Madam Grace.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rachel, for that welcome. And maybe it's important I say I'm glad for you having me to come and maybe address these 2 issues. It's also good to say I'm saved, and I thank God that He has enabled me to have this opportunity. I will start with the topic on adolescence. And adolescence is the 3rd human developmental stage of a human being. And we'll look at a number of issues, because it is said that this is the most stormy period of a human being. And it is important that all of us are able to understand the task that an adolescent is supposed actually to undergo. Because if we don't understand this stage well, it is also going to be very difficult, not only for the parents, but also for the church to even understand the programs that they may need for them to negotiate this phase, which is very critical, because any human being who is an adult has a lot that he carries from adolescence. And from psychology, it is a fact that if you don't negotiate this stage well, at the end of the day, what will happen, you'll be an adult physically, but cognitively you'll have gotten stuck in adolescence. So you'll find you may end up having so many adults who cannot make their own decisions, They are still manipulated. They are still not able to actually stand on their 2 feet, simply because they were not able to undergo this stage. And in psychology, we say they got fixated. And it is known all over the world that there are so many people who have a lot of these challenges. So I'll start by just being very simple and asking, therefore, what is adolescence, really? Because when we are talking about the teens, they are part of it. There are some people whom we usually say that they are late maturers, and you may find somebody who is 20, 21 to 23 still falling under this group. So we will definitely be focusing more on the teens, and also those whom we call late maturers, that would go up to 23 years. From 24 to 35, that is where now we will talk about youth. But basically, they are part of adults. So I'll just ask, what is adolescence? In a meeting of secondary school teachers, I had a unique interpretation of adolescence. And these teachers, they were referring to many problems that occur at this age. And one of the teachers said, I am convinced that this whole idea of adolescent is a setup of pupils to take advantage of us. They don't want to study, and we have to understand this because they are adolescents. They don't obey the school rules because they are at a difficult age. They don't obey their parents because they are suffering from the changes of this very delicate stage. In short, they are controlling the situation, raising the flag of adolescence. That is a teacher. Although perhaps such a declaration is true in some certain cases, we cannot ignore the fact that there are significant changes which belong to this vital stage. Because some of the content that the teacher has said, actually it is true, but not everything that is right. And you'll be looking at that so that it is very clear whom we are talking about. It is known, or it is a fact, that it is not easy to accurately answer what adolescence covers, particularly in the complex society of industrialized countries. You'll find that some people, they will look at adolescence from biological point of view. In other words, what we are saying from the word go, it is important we understand adolescence is, in short, the transition period between childhood and adulthood. In the beginning, although it may be it may vary greatly from person to person, adolescence is determined by a biological component, or the onset of maybe menses or other changes in girls, and the genital development and other changes in boys. That is the biological component, and nobody has any argument about that. Problems arise when we try to define the end of adolescence. Like I had said earlier, they are legally, when you are 18 years and above, you are an adult. But from psychological perspective, this is not an adult, because this person is still depending on the parents, because an adult is somebody who is independent. So here we really need to be very clear what we are talking about. And it is this kind of lack of clarity that normally gives parents and all of us a lot of problem. When can we state that a young girl is no longer a child and has become a woman? You know, that's a question that so many people, again, is not very clear. At what point can we say that the boy is now a man? The matter is complex because the criteria for beginning adulthood present a social component, not merely a biological one. Technically, an adult is someone who has reached the legal age, 18 years, in many legal systems, and Kenya is included. So long as you have an ID, you are actually an adult. However, the real adult condition is not reached until one achieves independence, freedom, and personal income. In our society, this is really delayed. Because you find there are quite a number of our young children who actually are in university, they are 25 years and all that. That basically means they have not acquired independence, they don't have freedom, they don't have personal income, yet they are adults. So from the biological component, they actually feel they are adult. But from the social perspective, they are not. Even psychologically, they are not. And that, if that does not come out clearly, it can really give a lot of conflict within the homes and the society. Adolescents continue to depend on their parents during their long years of study and job searching, and often until they are 20 or 25 years, and some are even 30. Because right now we are having so many of our young who have gone through colleges, universities, but they are still at home. They are still watching our TVs. They are still, you know, depending on us. But they are 30 years. What does that mean? Because finally, this is a person who can think, who has needs, and sometimes we are not able to actually accommodate or even understand. Adolescents continue to, I'm sorry, I have said that. For this reason, adolescent psychologists have concluded that in industrialized countries, we are going there as a country, it is not only a transition, but also an expanding phase. And this is when I was saying it is very difficult now to know where these adolescents end, socially, psychologically. Even when they have reached biological maturity and the rights which the laws recognize for adult, psychosocial adolescence continues. For this reason, adolescent psychologists have actually tried to highlight some of the important things that we need to actually understand from the word go. It is indicated that possibly no stage in life is more complex and troublesome than the teenage years or adolescence. It is a transition period where all the human doubts, hesitations, and uncertainties appear. Yet, vital decisions must be made for the future. Right now, we are all suffering out of the effects of COVID-19. The COVID-19, what it has brought to us is a shake-up, so some disruptions. It has actually made us to have a lot of uncertainties. We cannot tell maybe up to December what will be happening. It has distorted even the school life for these adolescents. Yet, for you being in this stage, it is also full of uncertainties. So it is very important we understand, as much as adults, we are affected by COVID-19, the impact it has on the adolescents is very different, and it is actually fatal. Because it's like you are multiplying these uncertainties. This stage, what these people, they are supposed to be answering from 12 years to 23 is a very important question. And this question is, whom am I? Because in this, if they don't, those so many years, they're actually there for them to answer that question, whom am I? What kind of a parent will I be? What kind of a career will I have? Whom am I? What are my strengths? But unfortunately, you have quite a number of them who have not even attempted to answer that question. So it becomes very tricky on how, therefore, they are actually going to settle and be able actually to move on. We can also say adolescence is a period of stress and strain. And we could also add storm and strife. Those are 4 S's. It's a period full of stress, strain, storm, and strife. It begins with the appearance of secondary sex characteristics and ends when physical growth is completed and the individual is psychologically mature. Through formal operational thinking, adolescents can deal with the problem, which sometimes we don't give them a chance. Another key thing highlight is that adolescence today is very different from yesterday. We have all gone through adolescence because we are adult, but the way we negotiate at this stage is completely different from how it is now. And one of the things that has affected this phase, it is the technological advancement. The technological advancement of today has actually pushed this adolescent to some kind of disarray. While technological advancement is an opportunity, there are also negative things out of that. And as parents, we have not been able actually to give the right guidance. There are negative things that are being picked from there, and they seem actually to affect our adolescents. Of course, there are many challenges. There have always been adolescents, that's a fact. But today, this age has more social importance. The new social and cultural milestones mean that the teen on his way toward the world of adults must face great challenges. It is a stage full of difficult questions, but it also offers many opportunities. The question is, are they able to see those opportunities? Have we put the structures that can help them actually to identify with those opportunities and be able actually to tap them? It is both the age of idealism, and when the young person's energy opens up, all the bright paths of life, and he is ready to commit himself to great and noble projects, sometimes he doesn't get the support that we would want. And when I'm talking about this, I'm also not forgetting the church. The church can be accused of not doing a number of things to actually be a stepping pad for our youth. If these doubts that youth have are not correctly treated, important signs of immaturity in the adult person will always remain in the rest of their lives. So therefore, we need to actually see that this stage is delicate, and there are a number of things that we need to look into. When I say that there is the aspect of, or the features that are common here is the aspect of idealism, we are saying most adolescents, they tend to have fixed ideals, and they consider them to be very important. Whether it is, maybe, you see, they can come up with a wild thing, they say there is a whale somewhere, and they're imagining they can save it, you know. Maybe you can say whether it is saving a whale, avoiding military aggression, or freeing a hostage, an adolescent will fight for it with all his strength and enthusiasm. Even when an adult thinks there is a risk. The adolescent, they are full of risk-taking. And life is about taking risk. So there is nothing wrong there. The only thing that they need is a lot of guidance, because there is a way we can overcrowd them, and they are not able actually to tap their potential, as it were. These adolescents also, they also have another characteristics that sometimes give them a lot of conflict. They are very good in questioning authority, starting from home. A child, when you talk about childhood, you are talking of that child who is below 12 years. Because in the human developmental life, there are only 4 stages. The first one is infancy, followed by childhood, then you have adolescence, and the last one is adulthood. Each of the 4, they are also divided into 3. We have early infancy, middle infancy, and late infancy. And those ones, they cut across. The challenge of an early adolescence, they are a bit different from a late adulthood. Late adolescence. So again, we don't just generalize. That girl who is 13 years has different needs from that one who is 21 years. Yet, as parents, we treat them the same. So it is very important when you are dealing with adolescents, whether they are at your house or they are here in the church, and we are running our programs, they tend to have a lot of questioning the authority. And we say home is the first school of anybody's life. Teachers come to be the second. And you know very well in the school setup, you cannot be employed to be a teacher if you are not trained. But the question is, how many parents are trained to be in that first school of life? And you know very well, most of the parents, we are parents basically because we were biologically capable to give birth. There is no single training that most people have ever gone. And whatever parenting we have been doing, it is what you saw your parent do. Yet we are all agreeing that there is a lot of changes that has happened over years. Of course, the technology, the lack of our social fabric, where you'd find like our grandmothers or our aunties would play a very big role with this stage of adolescence. Now they have removed their hands off because of other dynamics. So you find that this group of adolescents, they also don't understand us. They find us like we are very old, we are archaic. They actually sometimes have to hang on there because financially they are not able. Otherwise, in other areas, they are better off than us. So you find that therefore, when you are communicating with them, they tend to question whatever you say, whether you are a parent or not. And this is very good for them. All those rules we have been telling them when they were in childhood, they critique them. And some of those rules don't make sense. For instance, you have been saying as a parent, nobody should come home beyond 6. That rule is very good for children, but it doesn't make any sense to an adolescent. After all, they can watch you as an adult and they see you set the rule, but you break it. You say don't come at home at 6, but you can come at 11. That is the daddy. So they ask themselves, what would be wrong if myself at least I come at 8? And normally they don't consult you. They actually come at 8. And normally parents, they are not able to actually see that they are just testing the rules that you have set for very many years. And normally when they come, they are excited. They are okay, they have come. So what is the big deal that you are saying somebody should not come at 6? And instead of you understanding them, you actually find that most parents take that as a rebellion. And somehow people start having unnecessary conflict. Questioning authority. Authority is not just at home, even in the church. They may not necessarily like the way we do things, the way we sing, the way we walk, all those things. Remember, they are full of energies. And sometimes you know very well what has been happening with our youth. So we really need to dialogue, to have a discourse, because there are gaps. There is a lot of gaps in terms of how we can actually contain our adolescent even in the church setup. When it comes to the country, the same. Even in the politics, when you listen to them, they have a very different view from the one that the parents have. So subjection to parental, scholastic, or social authority, even schools. You find like in university, this youth can just cause a havoc out of something very small. Maybe they were not given a good supper. And that is enough to walk out of the road and do a lot of damage. That you will not find with adults, because this stage is unique, but you have not paused actually to try to understand what is wrong. And therefore we are saying, in this questioning of authority, it appears a young man or a woman who questions customs, tradition, and rules is not right. That is what we would wish as a society. But it is good also to understand an adolescent cognitively, they have developed just like us. They can think abstractively. They can question. They can hypothesize. Therefore, they have all the right actually to question how you do things. And when they question, they need answers, which sometimes they don't get. They wish to be independent, that we have said earlier, and when they cannot become independent in a material sense, they tend to do it through distancing themselves. And you agree, this distancing does not just happen in the church. It starts in our homes. When does an adolescent, who is that person who does not eat when you are eating? In most cases, you will find it is this adolescent. They want to be in their own place, eat when you are going to sleep. They do things opposite. And sometimes, if you are not a good parent, you will ignore. But it is important you find out what is happening, because maybe they are questioning a number of things and things are not right. The adolescents, they are also suspicious of the adult world. Just like we also are saying we don't understand them because maybe of the generation gap, which is a fact, they are also suspicious of our world. The trust placed in a group of friends is almost unconditional. Yeah? They tend to trust their groups, their peers, more than the adults. And that is not something that the parents are very comfortable with. However, parents, teachers, and other adults becomes also suspect. Often, the innocent question of a father, a mother, or an older brother are interpreted as interrogation or as having said intentions. Yeah. So you also need to be flexible, to give some room of such kind of misunderstanding, which needs to be corrected before somebody distances themselves. The adolescents, they are also very creative. We say they have creativity and joy. In a good environment, they may produce many creative ideas or products. In art or in games or in academic tasks or in friendship, teenagers have many unsuspected resources. You can live with them and not even know what they can do. But like now, even when we are right now with them at home, if we give them the right environment, you actually realize how creative they are. They are just coming up with something and you actually ask yourself, where were they? But for that to happen, the parent must provide that conducive environment. It will not just happen. Also, with the exception of isolated moments of sadness or worry, adolescents tend to be happy when surrounded by people who understand and support them. They have a craving for people who are willing to understand and support them, not to critique, not to push them down. Remember, cognitively, between a parent and an adult, cognitively, they could even be better than you. But physically and experience-wise, you are better. That is the difference. Some of them, even in terms of this technology we are talking about, they are very far. If you buy a phone, they don't have to read a manual. But for you, you have to read the manual, touch, and try. That basically means cognitively they are advanced. And especially if they are exposed to the technology that is there of the day. And they may show you a lot of things that you may not know. What about the energy? What about the energy that these people have? Like we have said, they are full of energy, but these energies that are within them can either be used well or it can be used very negatively. So again, here it is a reality. The adult-like physiological skills, man and woman give the young person enough energy to carry out tasks without apparent tiredness. What an adolescent can do in terms of energy within their system, you may not necessarily do it. If we were to walk here to Kilimabogo, wherever, they can do it. Yourself, once you walk up to Sarama, you might need some deep heat. You know, that's a reality. And this energy, it cuts across. You know, whether they are in school study, able to study if they are given the right tips, the right techniques for them to study. The other issue is the issue of conformity to the group. If we observe secondary and school students, we can see that with small variations, the colors, the styles of their clothes are usually the same. No adolescent would want to deviate so far. But remember, as parents, we have our own standards. And sometimes we again there we disagree. These people, whether we are talking about clothes, we are talking about hairstyles, they tend to be more or less similar. Conversation or different groups revolve around the same topics. Wherever you see them, wherever they are, the topics that group in East is talking is more or less the one that is in the other side. Because they are in another world which we may not necessarily understand. And if we don't have what it takes to reach out, because the problem is not with adolescents, the problem is with us on the other side. You might actually think they are queer and they have a lot of problems. Conversation, therefore, or different groups revolve around the same topics, the same ideas. And although adolescents do not conform to the society, they do conform to their group. And it means a lot. Peer group, peer pressure, all those things, they are there. Then, of course, this stage I said, they are supposed to answer this vital question, whom am I? And by answering that question, issues of self-esteem are very critical to them. They are very sensitive to self-esteem issues, and anything you can do to them to actually crush that self-esteem, they will fight back. The comments, the looks, or silence of others transmit continuous message to young people. They are sensitive to that. So the way we talk to them, the way we handle them, they might be, you might actually feel they are unnecessarily oversensitive. In this way, self-esteem modifies itself. As they continue, you find that an early adolescent or an early teen, as they progress towards 20s and all that, you actually realize they are asserting themselves in terms of self-esteem. Because self-esteem is what gives you value. At the end of the day, it is what will define you. What value can this adolescent give himself? How much would they sell themselves if they were to sell themselves? That is what we are calling self-esteem. And by you identifying or finding this self-esteem, the adolescent actually is able to develop his or her own identity. Because the moment on this earth you don't have your own identity, then you will continue being manipulated by other people. Like I said, we do have people, adult, they could be 40, 50 years, but they are still behaving as if they are adolescent. They are still manipulated by other people. That simply means they need to be taken back to adolescence and to be maybe given a very serious, intensive, maybe counseling, so that they can get unstuck out of that, for them actually to start manifesting the behaviors of an adult. These people, the adolescents, they are also known to be insecure. They are very insecure and they need support. Although adolescents can give the impression of having enough autonomy to be able to face up to life's difficulties, they are aware of their limitations and often feel confused and insecure. Actually, if you are very close with them, once in a while they express to you that sometimes they don't know how to move on, because they are somewhere navigating and they are trying to do very many things that could touch the career, that could touch their identity, that could even touch their social life. And it is important. Deep down, they are open to help from parents and adults, because the role of a parent or any adult to adolescents is only one: to guide.
Adolescents are not supposed to be instructed. You see, because the moment you are a parent and you don't have the effective parenting skill, what you'll be doing to an infant is the same thing you will do to that person who is in childhood, and it is the same thing you will do to that person who is in adolescent, and further it will be extended to your young adult children who are married, which is very wrong. Instruction only work for childhood. It will never work for adolescents. With adolescents, for instance, you don't talk to them if you can when they are studying. The effective discussion would warrant that you sit. You sit and dialogue. You must change your way of doing things. The approach is very important. And that makes them feel you value them. You, as a parent, you must lower yourself to that level of theirs. And that's why it is good to sit. If you have a habit of just shouting, making noise, they will walk away from you. And that is, again, is going to affect you more. Children, you can instruct them. You can even give them many rules. Adolescents, you must change your rules. For instance, adolescents who are in those families where there are so many rules, and remember they will start analyzing them and questioning them. They definitely, as a parent, you are going to have a lot of conflict. Because they might throw 3/4 of those rules and they remain only with a quarter. But that child who is in childhood will adhere to them. So as a parent, ideally, is only supposed to guide. The adolescence is a stage whereby, in terms of relationship, because they also have emotional needs, they are supposed to be facilitated to socialize, whether with the same sex or the opposite sex. They are supposed to be facilitated to socialize, but they are not supposed to be encouraged to specialize. Those are two different things. Because if a person goes all the way up to 23, and you as a parent or as a church or as a community, we have not given them the right skills to socialize. Don't expect them to start a family, because those skills are what will prepare them actually to engage and to be intimate with somebody, and they start a marriage from 24 onward. Otherwise, even research indicates that if you are brought up, for instance, let me say this, and it can attract a lot of controversy. People, let me use ladies, girls. Girls that have been known to have schooled in a mixed school, because when you are in school during adolescence, ladies that have led their lives and they went to schools that were mixed, they are known to make better mothers as opposed to those girls that went to the same gender. Is it gender or sex? Gender. That is a fact. Research have been done. Of course, most parents would prefer to take their girls to that school of just girls alone because of fear of unknown. Really. That is the right period for these girl viewers to socialize with the opposite sex, to know the elements, to know how to handle them. Because if you look at this girl, for instance, and they are finishing, let's say, Form 4 when they are 20 years, then now they obviously they are going to make, academically they will make it. Then you forward them to university. What do you think? This person, there are many things this person does not know socially. And in the university, you know, or colleges, you know the freedom that is there. So you are likely to have a lot of challenges. Because it's like you have just taken this child of yours and thrown out to the world. So these are some of the things, and of course they would entail a lot of policy. Because again, as a country, we are very far from integrating psychology. Psychology is the study of human behavior. what is important, so that when even in a school setup, we are able to understand some things and actually put the right policy, so that we don't necessarily affect the lives of people because of our own fears. Simply because you are a parent and you have not been able to bring up this child well, you want to put your child to protect this child. But the truth of the matter is you cannot protect that child forever. Right now, because of technology, they are already connected to other people in front of your face. Through the phone, they are using e-technology to be exposed to any manner of things. Yet, if you had given them the right values, the right ingredients, you would just now allow them to go out there and fry, and they will be able to make their own decision. So really what we are trying to say here is, the problem is not with the adolescent. After all, you are the one who have brought the adolescent. It is the parent, it is the school, it is the society that actually has to wake up and be able to accommodate this adolescent. Because basically that is how they are supposed to be. They are supposed to question everything. They are not just supposed to swallow everything as they see it. They are supposed to analyze. They are supposed to synthesize, so that in the future they can be able to make the right decision when you as a parent, you are not there. When you as an elder, you are long time gone. So that you can be sure they will still have the church, they will still make good families, and they will be able to overcome the challenges that are very many in this society we are living in. So the challenge is on us. And of course, we are also going to educate them so that they can be able to also know what they need to do. So I want to say basically what I'm saying. There are about 5 characteristics of adolescence that are major. And maybe I can just highlight them in trying to summarize what I'm saying. These major characteristics of adolescence are: 1, you have what you call biological growth and development. If you are an adolescent and there are challenges on this biological component, then there is a reason for intervening. Development, you remember, a human being does not only have the physical, has the mind and has the spirit. The other three, the three of them must be seen to develop. Cognitively, they do much, they use the technology, they use the intellectual, whatever, and they grow. And sometimes the parent doesn't play a lot of role. But what about the spirit part? Who is supposed to deal with it? Because we are right now as a society having a lot of challenges, whether they are coming from the families that are not healthy, or they are the challenges of pandemics like the ones we are facing. We are having people who do not have enough resilience to actually go through what is ahead of us. So we need to ask ourselves, what do we need to put in place? Because any human being who has worked so well on their physical body, you have eaten the right food, balanced diet, your body is okay. And the majority of us, we do that, apart from not maybe doing exercise. We do have a number of people, including adolescents, who have kwashiorkor on the component of the spirit part. And there are challenges in this life that if you are malnourished on the spirit part, it will be very difficult. For instance, the loss of a loved one. That one, the aspect of the spirit part is key. So even as we help the adolescents to find their identity, we must put in place all the things that need to be put there, so that we can ensure they are also growing on that part of them, because it's also very critical. One factor that is contributing to the deterioration of mental health of our adolescents is simply because they are weak on this area. Of course, there are other factors. Where there is a lot of stress all over, there are many challenges, unemployment, blah, blah, and all that. But this in itself, if we are able to do A, B, C, D, or whatever is needed to be done, you will find that they will be able at least to manage the challenges that are there. The other characteristic is that these people, they also have undefined status. You know, they are neither children or adult. They are just hanging there, you know. So, and parents, sometimes they have double standard. So in the morning, when I was talking to you, you are a child. Hello? But at lunchtime, when I come back and you have not cooked food, I'm addressing an adult. Who is this person? So that undefined status, sometimes we make it even worse. So in the process of trying to define whom they are, we tend not to be very clear. We lack clarity of what really should be. And then they also have increased, they also tend to have increased decision making. They should be seen to start being responsible and trying to make a decision. For instance, if you are a parent and you have gone home and you are coming back at 8, and you have this person who is 24 years, and they are just seated in the house simply because it's a man waiting for you to come and cook, and they don't even know whether you will come. That is a good example of irresponsibility. It is very wrong for a family to have somebody who is 24 years who cannot at least prepare a meal. It might look very simple, but that is a survival skill. When this person goes out there and starts a family, and the house girl has disappeared, because the house girls that you are likely to get, they might be lasting only 4 hours, because they are also youth with a lot of challenges. How are you going to drive that family? Are we saying you will sleep hungry, or you will start traveling to a supermarket to buy food? How is it? That food you are buying at the supermarket, how will you know whether it is well cooked? So these are important social skills that our adolescents must have. Unfortunately, we have just tried to push them only to come up with academic skills. But a person who is known to survive on this earth, it is a person who has those social skills. In fact, you'd rather have the social skill and be limited with academics. You will still survive. But if it is just being intellectual, getting even first class, but you cannot interrelate, you don't have interpersonal skills, you don't have the human relations skills, even running a marriage is going to be a very difficult thing. Yet, a family is a critical institution in anybody's life. Even if you stay 50 years without marrying, you will still marry maybe one day, or you will still have challenges, and you will still feel that there's something that you are missing. And you might do it along your years, which means it is a very important institution, because when you reach 60 years and above, that is the time you realize the importance of the family. Because again, we have our adolescents who have these ideas that marriage is not something that they can actually put on their list. It is a human developmental stage, and it is only fair that we help them to actually choose and do the right things at the right time. Then we are also saying these people have increased pressures. Adolescence is a period full of pressures. Please don't add more. They already have enough. They are struggling psychologically to find themselves. So by you not understanding them, by you being ignorant, you are only increasing their pressure, and you might actually lose each other. Most parents get disconnected with your children within this stage. There are very few whom you can get disconnected in childhood. It is in adolescence when you lose touch and maybe you will not be able to recover. And of course, the fifth characteristic, these people are in the business of searching the self. And that is very important. They belong to you, yes, but they don't want to be you. They want to have their own identity. And that's why you find right now there are so many families who are suffering because a parent somewhere has dictated even the course that the child is going to do. And some of these adolescents, they are going to colleges and they do the course that you have chosen just to please you. But after that, they keep it down and they come and tell you, now I want you to do the one that is mine. Simply because we failed to dialogue. And if you push them, it can actually be a fatal thing. It can lead to some very expensive problem. What are the challenges, therefore, for the adolescents? Research has focused on 3 major problems that all of us need to be aware, even as we help them. One of them is sexual behavior. The other one, drug abuse and suicide. Those 3 are things that all of us need to have some basic so that we can be able to understand and assist. Though the norm governing sexual behavior, including the church one, is that sexual activity should be confined to marriage. That is the norm. And it is known. This norm has changed for the worst. This is no longer being held with the seriousness it deserves. And it is cutting across. And we are saying we are having dramatic increase in adolescent sexual behavior. And you can see it all over. We have teenage pregnancy, we have abortions. The other day, just because of COVID, we have been told in Machakos, about 4,000 teenagers are expectant. And you can imagine what that means, even to that county, to that parent, to that community. And these are things that are happening. Lucky enough, now we are being told about Machakos, all about here. These things are there and they are fact. So the issue of sexual behavior, because these people have a lot of energy and they are active, yet we need to go back to the spiritual part so that these people can have the right values and they can understand the disadvantages of engaging themselves in those vices. Factors that lead to early sexual activities, they are known. One of them is family income level. The other one, of course, mostly if the income is low, you have some girls engaging into sex also very early. We have parents' marital status, we have peer pressure, we have media. Right now, a lot of advertisement, they have a tendency to lure sexuality to sell their products. And we are all there, glued to the TV and just watching. So we create a wrong impression about these sexuality things. And sometimes our youth are not well guided because we hardly talk to them. We are busy chasing the weed, and finally they end up making a mess. The issue of drug use, this is fatal. Drugs. And you will be surprised, majority of people don't even know the drugs that their children could be taking. It is also a fact that the adolescents who actively participate and practice their religion tend to wait until marriage and have different views on sexual activity. And that's why we should encourage our children to actually do a lot of religious activity, be in the church, because it helps. Consequences of early sexual activity, one of them is that babies born to teenagers have lower birth rates. I don't want to expound, but you know what that means. Teenagers' parents are less likely to finish school life, and if they finish, it's full of stress. Sexually transmitted diseases, there are many. In 1990s, AIDS, which is largely transmitted through sexual activity, AIDS was the 7th leading cause of death among the 15 to 24 years old. I don't know whether it has changed. These are reality. But the youth of today do not fear AIDS. They fear pregnancy more than AIDS. And then you ask yourself, what is that? It is lack of knowledge. You'll find the youth involved in those activities, but the following day, they go for the e-pills. They don't care about the HIV, and it is us to educate them. The consequences also, it is said, they have lower lifetime earnings. People who engage whatever, they tend obviously not to achieve their goal. Children of teenage parents are more likely to experience learning difficulties, have increased risk of becoming teenage parents themselves, and teenager mothers often face significant emotional stress, sexuality, and all that. Adolescents, you need to know the drugs. They are here, medicines, the normal prescribed medicines. Some of our adolescents are abusing them. Alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana, which is baggy. There are many. And when you start now talking about cocaine, heroin, escapades, and meth and all, we are talking of now hard drugs, you know, and they are all within everywhere in any community. The issue of adolescent suicide, I have very few minutes, I'm being told. Adolescent suicide, this is a crisis. The rate of suicide in Kenya has rose by 58% between 2008 and 2017. This is a fact. There is a study that was done. And most of these people who are here, who committed suicide, they are adolescents. They are our young people, and more so men. Because most girls who attempt, they somehow along the way fear and give up. But mostly male, they succeed. Yet it is known ladies are more, they are more quick to want to commit suicide. Suicide is associated with mental disorders such as depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, anxiety disorder, and substance use disorder. Some youths are usually faced with these disorders, and yet there seems not to be a comprehensive approach to addressing these mental illnesses. The people have mental illnesses, you are living with them, you are not even aware, because more often than not, they are normal. Because some of the people who are committing suicide, really they are sick. And there are all signs around. It's only that we are ignorant and we have failed actually to pick those signs. There is no person who will ever commit suicide without crying for help. And whenever somebody commits suicide, it basically means we are not observant. They have talked about it. They have said it. Even the way they do this, they have even reached a level whereby they are giving out their precious property, and we are still not adding 1 + 1 to actually see the danger that is there. So again, this is an area that we need to educate ourselves, because we must help ourselves. And it is cutting across, even in the workplace. The young people who are joining the workforce, because again, I deal with counseling a lot, and especially some cadres, some careers, they seem to be very suicidal. And some are actually killing themselves, even in the workplace. So we need again to watch out. We need to ask which are the risk factors. These people, we say any person who has access to firearms, like the police, they seem to kill themselves simply because they have the firearms. Access to firearms, strained relationships. Most of our adolescents, they are killing themselves simply because a young man has been booted by a girl somewhere. See, and it appears the father had never prepared that girl, that young man, to tell him that even the mother that I have was not the first. It is a reality that when you start a relationship, it might not necessarily end up the way you want. It is another thing to hurt yourself simply because somebody has decided to change the promise that maybe they had said. Unemployment is another cause, chronic physical illness, financial difficulties, loneliness. We need to be very keen on people who are very lonely. and especially extreme, they are withdrawn, get concerned, and especially somebody who was outgoing, all of a sudden they become withdrawn. That one should not be ignored. Exposure to suicide behavior of others. Anytime a suicide happens anywhere, just know another one will happen. That is how it works. So you are supposed actually to intervene, because there are some people who actually copy that and see that like that is the way they can solve a problem. So you are not just supposed to sit and wash out. You are supposed actually to talk about it, educate, and it doesn't happen again. The sociological view of suicide is that suicide rates can be explained by the level of social integration in a group or society. Society that are cohesion, they are integrated, they are known to actually curtail the success rates of suicide. So where are we? Again, that again is something that we can look at. I don't know whether I can finish two points. Facing the challenges of adolescence. The adolescents must be encouraged. There is a saying by a Spanish proverb. It says, youth and good understanding do not go together. They have that proverb. I don't know why they have it. But it is always important to help adolescents to remember that you need to understand. There's a lot of learning that you need to go through for you actually to be able to sail through. These people must be encouraged to know their values. And here we will talk about ethical issues that invite dilemmas in life. They will happen. Moral values, they are supposed at the end of the day to help with you adolescents to actually form a safe and solid grounding for a new lifestyle. Because we can tell you everything, but the choice again is yours. You have to choose wisely, based on, make sure you have the right values so that you can actually succeed. Draw up a plan for your life. School problems during adolescence is one area that somehow you need to understand that this stage, school life is critical. And it determines how you are going to spend your life thereafter. So it is always good to actually try as much as possible not to have conflict, to interfere with your school life, because it's going to be very costly. The issue of loss of interest in studying, it needs to be addressed, and like teachers would comfortably say, at the level of adolescent, and especially towards the middle and the end, you really need some study, habits, some goodwill of whatever, because an adolescent can be distracted by very many things. How do we help him to concentrate? How does he study? There is a lot of guidance that needs to come from there. The issue of peer pressure. It's good to be in a group, but at the end of the day, you need to have what we call refusal skills. Most of the adolescents don't have a vocabulary called no. So they need to be trained on assertiveness. That for instance, you may find most girls in schools, or let's say adolescents, if they are in a school, but they understand having good grades is not popular. When you pass and you are doing very well, normally those people are not very popular to the bigger group. So you might find that somebody now just relaxing in the academic area just to be like her friends. Imagine, just like to be a friend, because the moment you are performing well, you are like not part of that group. So a lot of support again is needed there. Now, I think I could say the last 3 points is that these adolescents, they need to develop themselves. You need to identify a role model, whether it's in the community or wherever. Somebody whom you can be picking the positive things, and he helps you actually to realize your goal. The adolescents need also to feel good when they are making decisions. And those decisions, you need to reevaluate them, reflect, and see whether they are interfering again with your values. The issue of being assertive, very important, and also very important, the need to learn a skill. Right now, most of the adolescents are at home. What are you learning? It might not necessarily be schoolwork. is there anything that you are learning since March up to today, and we are not sure when you will go back to school? How can we waste 6 months, 9 months, and you have learned no skill? So you need to look around, because there is a lot that you can do even within the home. If you didn't know how to make chapati, you can know, that's a skill. If you didn't know how to actually prepare something for the family, you can still learn. If you didn't know how to dig, you can actually dig. So that by the end of the day, you must be busy, you must use your energy in the right way. Otherwise, this is a critical stage that a lot needs to be done, and we need to put our heads together, and the adolescent needs to also be encouraged to be open, to listen to the parents. King Solomon somewhere said that it is very important that the youth, you take heed to the wisdom of your parents, because at least they passed there, even if it is in a different time. There is a lot that you can borrow from them. So I wish to stop there. Yeah, thank you.